together. It didn't come out of some magic. And it also comes because I happen to know a lot about teaching reading and writing. So the paradox seems to be to say that we do know some things that work, but there's really no one recipe. The magic happens by people being together. So you can increase the chances for success by decreasing the isolation.
If you ask the question, what is inclusion, you have to look at the other side of it. What is exclusion? Why are we even talking about this? What is it about us that makes us want to cut people out of the fabric of our lives? What is different about them? And why are we better? Why do we not need them? Why do we devalue them so much that we're even talking about including them? I mean, is it our choice? Have we set the rules? I'm sorry, you're out. And where do we get that right? I really don't understand. I mean, to me, it seems inclusion is a given.
Exclusion is only about 100 years old or so. It happened when people who have cognitive disabilities, who in the past we've called mentally retarded, their families could not get the supports they needed in the community. Their families were looking for educational supports. Their families were looking for futures planning. What happens to my family member when I'm no longer around? These supports were not available in the community, so the families themselves set up the institutional model to provide educational supports and long-term care supports. Now that we've seen that these services should not be provided way out in the boonies, 100 miles away from our urban areas, now we're trying to fight our ways back out of the institutional settings. But we have got to have those educational and long-term care supports in the communities.
Inclusion is truly about figuring out how to live in a democratic society. Inclusion is much more difficult than I thought it was and much easier. And I won't argue with anybody about it anymore. I absolutely say, if you think segregation is good, you defend it. I don't think everybody's saying, oh, goody, goody. We really totally agree and we're going to just do everything we can do to do it. But I find people are quite yearning for building community. They're yearning for friendship. And I think the difference in the last 5 years is, A, we have a lot more research on what makes a good learning environment, what makes a good business environment, what makes a good community, so that the people who aren't doing it have to prove why they're not doing it.
Bryce likes playing superheroes. His favorite right now is Batman. He also loves to read.
He also loves to watch television. Bryce loves movies. It's a big thing with him.
He's really just a 10-year-old boy, typical 10-year-old boy who just needs a lot of assistance to do what he wants to do, which is catch the bad guys, read, write stories, watch TV, street hockey, basketball, and hang out with his friends.
He likes to ride horses. Swimming. He likes to swim. He likes to ride horses.
He likes going up in airplanes and helicopters, and we're hoping in the future to decide how we're going to help him go scuba diving.
Come on. 3, 2, 1, go! What a bomb! What a bomb! Okay, good jump. All right. Here we go. Right? Yes, scuba diver. The most important thing is Bryce is having a ball. He's shrieking with delight. And of course, lots of us say, well, what could he, how dare he go in a swimming pool? I mean, he's got feeding tubes, gee, I mean, and he actually he doesn't have bowel bladder control, so he has to wear a diaper, and some people get really snarly about that. But the kid is having a wonderful time. He's playing with his friends. He's playing bad guys. We sank several of them, as you noticed, because he wanted to kick and scream and splash and have a good time. That's what's important to notice about Bryce here. He's thriving. He's going to be a scuba diver.
Rosemary Dibwad, who is a major figure in this movement, the disability rights movement, passed away when she was about 80. Before she died, I asked her, I said, Rosemary, give me advice. Tell me what to do. You're not going to be here forever. What would you like to see us do? And she said, stay away from negative people and bring hope to families. And I think that's what we're trying to do. But it's not hope in some silly little abstract, if you do this, life will be rosy and beautiful. But hope that if you really struggle and if you really work with people, we'll make this world a little bit better, and every generation will get a little bit better. I believe that. On the one hand, I think you can actually teach people certain things that lead to successful relationship building. On the other hand, I don't think there's a recipe. What I think is the answer, and I really do believe this is the answer, if a group of committed people sit down together with some good food and some decent coffee and some nice drinks, juice, whatever, I truly believe that we can figure out together how to do this for anybody, but I don't think there's a recipe. The paradox is that the recipe is, let's sit down together and figure it out. But the way that it might work for your family may be very different than for X family or for my family. But the key seems to be, let's sit down together and spend 2 hours every couple of weeks and let's talk about it. And let's do it for 20 years. And just maybe then you'll see some depth of friendship happening. But to say I did a circle of friends exercise and it didn't work and this is all a bunch of malarkey. The other thing to me that's the best kept secret in education is that when kids feel decent about themselves, miracles start to happen in terms of reading and writing and arithmetic and science and history and geography. But if they feel alone, if they feel isolated, if they feel worthless, if they think that they're, quote, disabled or different or whatever, then I don't care. You could stand on your head and spit wooden nickels and they will not learn to read and write and do science. I've seen this over and over and over. I taught a 33-year-old man to read and write who'd been in jail half his life. And he will tell you that it was because I trusted him. And I said to him, you can do it. You talk so well. If you can talk, you can read. And he learned how to read and write. And he's writing poetry now. Now that came out of the relationship that he and I have together. It didn't come out of some magic. And it also comes because I happen to know a lot about teaching reading and writing. So the paradox seems to be to say that we do know some things that work, but there's really no one recipe. I hope that makes sense, because these days everyone's talking about complexity, about chaos theory, about messes. And I believe that life is sort of a wonderful mess. And if you just sit and work with all the ingredients and you play with them and you add a little bit of Tabasco for you and a little garlic for me, the magic happens by people being together. So you can increase the chances for success by decreasing the isolation. I think I've learned that this is even more important than I ever thought it was. That inclusion is really a life and death issue, but it has nothing to do with disability. Inclusion is truly about figuring out how to live in a democratic society. Inclusion is much more difficult than I thought it was and much easier. And I won't argue with anybody about it anymore. I absolutely say, if you think segregation is good, you defend it. And you can't. You can't defend it in South Africa. It's dead. The Palestinians and the Israelis are at least trying to talk to each other. It doesn't mean that miracles have happened in terms of peace in the world. But for me, inclusion has become much more linked to the peace movement, to social justice, to human rights. And that means we're not as alone, because we have the entire worldwide human rights movement to ally with. But I find people are quite yearning for building community. They're yearning for friendship. And I think the difference in the last 5 years is, A, we have a lot more research on what makes a good learning environment, what makes a good business environment, what makes a good community, so that the people who aren't doing it have to prove why they're not doing it. And in the meantime, we're running around the world trying to help people basically sit down and talk to each other. Dialogue, conversation, reflection. I find incredible openness on one hand, and the people that really don't like it, I don't bother arguing, because I'm not going to win. Somebody else will win them over, children or whatever. In the last 5 years, I think a lot of people are learning that we can be different and come at this from different points of view, but we're all saying the same thing. And I think that's been a real difference, that you don't have, oh, they're academics, and oh, they're doing research, and we're the love people. People used to call us, oh, they're the friendship and love people. So, gee, that's a nice thing to be known as. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm a pretty hard-nosed research person, too. I can back up every single thing I say with hardcore research on how people learn and grow and develop and be healthy. So I think there's a lot less infighting among the good guys. And people are saying, well, good, that's great. We need you to do the research. And wow, we need you to make the T-shirts. And we need you to do the films. And we need you to be the pounding on the friendship stuff. And we need you to be the team builder. Now, I'm not being Pollyanna, but honest to goodness, I've seen people who were a little bit, the jockeying for position, saying, wow, that's your gift to do research, and your gift is to create environments for learning, and let's all work together because we're going in the same direction. I think we need to hear from children more than any other group of people that we're leaving out. And by the way, I don't think we should listen to the kids and do everything they say. But I think we need to sit down and really hear the voices of kids. I've learned the most from having children actually on our Inclusion Press team. We've invited 2 teenagers who work with us. And I value their opinion as much as I value the opinions of the adults in our team. I don't always agree with them, and they don't always agree with me. But their point of view, just like having elders, this society is nuts. Like, I'm over 55 now. I'm looked at as like some kind of, senior citizen. And I won't define myself as that. But as I grow older, I would like to be seen as an elder in the sense of wisdom. That I've learned from my friends in New Zealand, that when you sit with particularly the Aboriginal community, you have an age range of people that goes like this. In North America, it's like this. These children never see people over the age of 50. So I think the question of cross-generational friendships is critical. And I value my 15-year-old friends and what they have to say, and I think I'm good for them too. I think there's a Yiddish word called kvelling. When Joel spoke for me, I was quelling, because for me, Joel is the future. The voice of Joel and the voice of Bryce are the symbol of the leadership of the next generation. And they were so clear and they were so confident. But that also didn't just happen. It happens because we have a relationship with those children. And I particularly have a very close relationship with Joel. We talked a lot about what he was going to say. He was really scared, but he feels so good. He is so proud. His parents are so proud. That kid's going to be a different kid next week at school, because he's running around saying, I did it! I did it! I spoke to all these people, and I did good, didn't I? And I said, you did far better than good. You were great. Inclusion for us really has nothing to do with disability anymore. It is a wonderful word which really means all embracing. And the disability movement has maybe given the word inclusion as a gift to the world. But when we talk about inclusion, for me, it is about including our grandmothers and grandfathers. It's including people who are weird and wonderful, including children, including music, including art, including the environment. And one of the new things for us, we heard a woman named Ursula Franklin. She's a 75-year-old metallurgist in Toronto, and she said, people matter, nature matters, nothing else matters. And that's become our guiding light. Is what we're doing, do people matter? Does nature matter? Does nothing else matter? That's what we're trying to live by. Judith Snow's Circle of Friends is called the Joshua Committee. When I was hit with cancer, I had to practice what I preach. And Marcia Forrest's Circle of Friends is called the Rose Quartz Team. And I did everything I've been teaching. And I saved my life for as long as I live, which could be 2 days or 20 years, right? But the fact is that my circle of friends saved my life and saved my marriage, because as much as Jack and I are the most wonderful partners in the world, I wouldn't have a partnership with him if I used him as my doctor, my therapist, my support, my everything. But because I called together my friends, I could scream and weep with one. My friend Rose cooked and made me food and made sure I ate. She upholstered my couch. Judith sent me these emails that were funny and making me laugh. My friend Barbara was just there, whatever I wanted. My friend Kathy heard my voice and was in the office and just making me work and not allowing me to feel sorry for myself. Jonathan and Joel told me I looked beautiful when I had no hair. When my hair was falling out, those kids said to me, you look cool, Marcia, you look great. And that carried me through. And so for me, survival is dependent on people being surrounded and loved by people. And when some of us don't have biological family around us, so we have to reach out to neighbors and friends. The last 5 years have taught me if we can't help people do that, we're dead. How do we help people do that? Tell the truth. Tell real stories. Play beautiful music. Eat together. Weep together. Watch stupid videos together. Do what it takes to survive. How do you keep your energy and your spirit up is by having people to cry with when your energy and your spirit. How do you do it is when you're feeling like I often feel, which is scared, vulnerable, terrified, is again having people that I can say, and I have friends that I can go to and say, I am terrified, I am scared, I am vulnerable, I just want to weep, I am tired. So I do that and then get up and carry on, because for me, there is no other way to be. I want to live every minute of my life. But that doesn't mean that I don't want to feel depressed and bad sometime. I just don't want to always have to feel good, And I sure as heck don't always want to feel bad. And it is very hard work to make this really happen. I don't know how people survive if they don't have family and friends. I literally don't know how people survive. And I've often said to Judith, Judith, how do people survive? And Judith has a great answer. They don't. People don't survive without people in their lives. That's what I've learned in the last 5 years, more than ever. And so I'll continue with Jack, Judith, our team, writing the books, running around the country, playing the music, and bringing the message of, please, the answer is profoundly simple and profoundly difficult. Ask. There are people out there that will be with you. But if you don't ask, you'll be alone and you'll die. The future that I want to see, and I'm sure you want to see, is the future. Native people talk about the 7 generations. It's working toward a future where there really isn't child poverty, where there isn't AIDS, where there isn't the divorce rate. And I don't think this is utopia. I truly believe that the world keeps getting better and more people keep being enfranchised by the system. But I don't expect to see it all. And I think the leap of faith is to work like the Dickens to make sure that you do one tiny little thing in this world to lead to that kind of world where there's justice. I mean, I sit here as a woman and I think, well, 50 years ago I couldn't vote. I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. I mean, the world has changed. People who are into this doom and gloom drive me crazy. Rosemary Dibwad, who is a major figure in this movement, the disability rights movement, passed away when she was about 80. Before she died, I asked her, I said, Rosemary, give me advice. Tell me what to do. You're not going to be here forever. What would you like to see us do? And she said, stay away from negative people and bring hope to families. And I think that's what we're trying to do. But it's not hope in some silly little abstract, if you do this, life will be rosy and beautiful. But hope that if you really struggle and if you really work with people, we'll make this world a little bit better and every generation will get a little bit better. I believe that.
I think friendship's likely the most fundamental issue that most of us deal with as human beings. And certainly as North Americans, we're on average not very good at it. We market it well, we do great commercials on it, we can turn it into a product in a minute, but when it gets down to do we have good friends and know how to maintain friendships, we're losing it. We've forgotten that it takes hard work. We've forgotten we have to invest our heart, our soul, in building and sustaining it. And it's not a 1995 product that you can buy off the shelf and get a quick fix and everything will be fixed in the morning. Friendship's an issue that it's about building, constructing relationships. It's a lifetime work. If we can remember that, we can do it. We actually can do it, but a lot of us have forgotten. One of the things that's happened is the mobility of families and traditional families so that they aren't, the extended family, although we may think about it, is a pretty rare commodity. And even a stable nuclear family is relatively uncommon. So we've got to get away from or go beyond thinking of blood family and go to what we've been calling water family, that you create a family. And it's interesting for us that that's beyond geography. You need some people physically close to you that you can interact with, but you can also reach beyond. We use our email network, which is global, as part of our friendship circle. And friends of ours say, oh, you can't do that. Well, I can tell you, we've just been grieving with a friend whose child was killed in a car accident, and we've been doing it on email. We also phoned, but the primary contact, just because of time and time zones, was email. And it's an extraordinarily powerful network of connection that's real. Now, that didn't start by email, and that's why that's not the issue, but there are lots of ways to build and sustain relationships that can make a difference in your life. You do not have to be alone. And if you're alone, I don't care where you are, do something starting now to find some people in your life, because the question is not, are you going to be in trouble? The question is, how soon? I think we have to be real careful about rhetoric. I think lots of the words we're using this week that have